All right, Liam. Today we have with us Liam Fields. He's a guy
Yeah,
from Ireland. Yeah, it's very nice. We're gonna take a meeting
yeah, I'm
for
from
our
Ireland.
English class. Okay. First question is, where are you born?
Well, I was born in a sweet small county in Dungannon, and it's only about a 3 minutes walk from the shops, you know?
That's quite so.
No, like, so I was born, well, I was born in Dungannon, but, well,
Just speak off your tongue, just your native accent. That's quite alright.
yeah, no, I was born in Dungannon, but I mean, that's only just the hospital. I was raised, like, entirely in a small town, Armagh,
Arma, yeah.
which is about 40 miles from Belfast, second largest city on the
Where
entire.
were you born?
When?
Yeah.
Oh, it was like so like 16th December 1996.
96.
20 years ago, 21 years ago, in a few days.
Alright.
Um,
Yeah. Okay. So what do you do for a living? Student, right?
yeah, I'm a student, so I do physics at Queen's University Belfast, that I already mentioned, and I'm a second year student at that place.
Alright.
What languages do you speak?
Um, well, I was raised speaking English, but at school we learnt a little bit of Irish, French, and Spanish. Then I've sort of self-taught myself a little bit of German, Russian, and Irish, but I can't really speak any of those like properly. It's
Yeah.
just like passive interest.
Okay. Okay. So you do not speak like your native language, which would be Gaelic, right? Like native.
No, it's we don't. No, yeah, you said it right, Gaelic.
Yeah.
We don't. It's very uncommon to speak it here.
Yeah.
Not a lot of people who do.
All right.
There are areas like in the south and in the west called like Gaeltacht areas. Those are like very small communities, villages where people are predominantly speaking Irish, and a lot of people who want to learn Irish do go to those villages on holidays and stuff. Just hang about and speak Irish because they like it.
That's pretty
Do
impressive.
do your do your parents speak Gaelic?
My mum's English, so she doesn't, and my dad, he doesn't either. But I have four uncles who speak it very, very well, and one of them speaks it actually better than he speaks English, I think.
Well,
No,
so
I
wow,
actually have
that's
a
amazing.
story about that.
go ahead.
There was a sort of a pub quiz going on, and one of the questions was reviewing a piece of Irish poetry, and all the people in the bar who could speak Irish were discussing, what the answer was, and it was meaning something empty. Yeah, and my uncle was the only one who got it. It wasn't just like merely empty; it was void, like completely desolate. So like that was the answer, and he was the only one in the entire bar who got it. He has a real like mastery of Irish language,
That's pretty impressive, actually.
speaking and writing.
Yeah. Okay. So what do you think?
He actually he actually taught Jerry Adams Irish in the H blocks because he went to prison.
All right. Oh, what?
Yeah, yeah, he
Really?
actually,
Jerry?
yeah, 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 Jerry Adams.
Oh, really? Okay.
I mean, like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. Next question. What would you think is like the opinion of Irish people about the Gaelic language?
Well, a lot of them would like to speak. Well, when you say Irish people, I mean like there's two demographics.
Yeah. Yeah. No, just
You're
Irish
probably
like as a whole. I don't know if you don't split it into North Ireland and then Ireland as a whole.
like even in those like as a whole, like if we look at well,
Okay.
a lot of people would like to speak it definitely. And some people do go out of their way to learn it. My my girlfriend, her father was a hyperlexic guy, and at the age of 20, he taught himself Irish in like the space of a year,
Well,
and like he is like fluent in that language, and he's actually like an amazing biologist. He went to Oxford. He's now in Wexford University.
damn.
He's like leading in his field, and he taught himself Irish in less than a year
Wow.
to a
Seriously,
very good degree.
the language
And
is not taught in schools.
it is taught in school, but it's like in my opinion, it's done like in a half-assed manner, just to say, oh, we tried to teach it. I mean, it's never really impressed upon you. I mean, in the South, they have this thing where to pass your university degree, you have to pass like an Irish speaking test, But it's no joke. Like so, whatever you do, like business, medicine, physics, if you go to the south, the Republic, you have to be able to speak Irish to a certain degree. But I think it's also done in like a half-assed manner. Like they've brought in these like language schemes and stuff to sort of revive the language, but they're not being very hardline with it.
Yeah.
It's just I think it's just to shut people up more than anything.
Yeah. Okay, if you would have the option to like stop speaking English and just completely take up Gaelic, would you take it?
No, I mean English is useful. I mean doing both certainly, yeah.
Mm.
So doing both. It's to drop both. Would be to drop English, which is really spoken everywhere, and then to just be Irish is would be inconvenient later on. Uh, Especially for me, like I'm gonna have to travel to like do any physics type stuff.
Yeah, it would be too
Um,
isolated. Yeah.
it's like the way you like speak Icelandic to a good standard and also English to a good standard. Like that type of relationship would be really really desirable.
But
Um,
how do you feel when a foreigner tries to speak with an Irish accent to make fun of you, like Kauri does?
like like Carrie here. No, like it doesn't really bother me. I mean, really depends how it's done and who does it. I mean, if a friend does it and they're just messing around, it's forgivable. But it can be quite cringy at times.
Oh yeah, tell me about it.
But I don't feel like I'm an oppressed group or anything. I mean, like it's not like saying like a racial slur to someone. It's just like it's like a bit of like a meme, a bit of a joke.
Yeah,
Yeah, but the most it could be to me would be like annoying. That's it.
yeah. Okay, so so the next question is pretty good. What do you think is the most stupid stereotype about like the Irish people?
Well, like the most stupid terrorist stereotype would be like the whole you know potatoes thing.
Wait, that's a
The whole
stereotype. I thought that. I'm just kidding.
like yeah, like it's sort of like it's sort of like a joke. I mean, no one really takes it seriously, but there are some like stereotypes that aren't stupid, they're just more like outright incorrect and offensive. Like all Irish men are drunk. You know, they're all like hyper Catholic. They're all like drunkards. They beat their wives and shit.
Yeah.
All that sort of shit. Like that's you see that like casually mentioned in like places like even in you see it in Family Guy, but like Family Guy make fun of anyone. I mean, I'm not offended,
Yeah.
but like the stereotype of like the drunk, loud, you know, sort of
The
like
drunk thing, that's like the most misconceptions of Irish people, right?
well, I mean, like
That's the biggest one.
well, I mean, there's definitely a lot of pubs here and all that sort of stuff, but like, I'm not gonna lie, people do like drinking here, but it's not. I don't think it's a problem and stuff. Like they're not drunkards and like they're not like mean spirited. There is one misconception. It's actually more political. There's a misconception that the whole like division in the country between like is like due to religion, like Protestant and Catholic, and that really like that is a massive misconception. People just don't get their heads around it. You should think of it more like colonials versus non-colonials because those demographics of like the religions they line up really well, but they're not the causing factor. It's mainly because like the English people, they come over and like they're Protestant, but then they sort of take over and stuff, and then the English people actually leave, but like they leave people behind who were loyalists, like English loyalists,
Yeah.
and those guys like are like like ultra bigoted, like the British Empire like didn't end in Ireland until everywhere else had ended, pretty much.
Yeah, I saw like a documentary about like marching bands. When I was in my history class. Like marching bands, they go in that are in Northern Ireland, and they're like marching around the entire town. Like
Yeah, it's just like that's like those are the loyalists, yeah,
yeah,
and like so like and the loyalists like all age groups
yeah,
of the loyalists do this. Young children, in fact, the parents actually encourage their children to do this type of stuff,
yeah,
and they go through like areas where like it's predominantly Catholic, and then they would like start singing and marching like songs about like historical battles and shit like that no one gives us anything about.
yeah. It's like forcing their fucking culture. Excuse my language. Forcing their
Yeah,
culture upon your culture. Pretty much just saying that you're better. That they're
yeah,
better.
and like not even that. Like they will sing like just outright, like offensive songs, like like killing Fingans and all that sort of stuff. And like you go into Belfast, which is like the biggest city, and like you can see places like Kill the Huns or All Takes Out or something like that. Like yeah, Take is another word against like Irish nationalist people. Uh, yeah, so like yeah, the misconception is that it's religion and
Yeah, it's not.
it's all political,
Yeah.
and we don't even care about. I mean, like no one here really likes England that much, but it's mostly the fuckers they left behind that are really annoying.
Yeah, fair enough. So
You know,
your opinion on like the political division that is in like Ireland, like Northern Ireland, Ireland. Would you like are you pro Ireland, Ireland instead of Northern Ireland or Ireland?
like I like do I want to like have the United 32 counties?
Yeah.
No, because I mean just like logically for me it's not beneficial. The South is part of the EU, and the South is like money wise fucked.
Yeah.
Economically it's beneficial. You know the Ireland that people wanted to exist cannot exist anymore because it's no longer Ireland. It's not like it's not their country anymore. It's like everyone's country sort of thing. I mean that's just like the fact of it. Like you know the Irish people have for ages like complained about like foreigners, and then then they joined the EU, and then like what do you want, sort of thing. Like I don't care, but like in money wise, definitely stay with England. And I mean, I never really felt overly patriotic anyway.
Yeah.
Like
Uh,
like
do you have any funny Irish stories
no,
or funny?
nothing like nothing that's happened like to me personally, but like my grandfather, like like when he was like young, like in his 20s or something, he got him or his brother like got picked up by the police, and like this is like back when like before all like the technology, like really organized police, and so he got picked up, probably like told the policeman who in those days was basically like a loyalist. It was like there was no Catholic police people.
Yeah, because the loyalists were predominant. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like oh yeah, like you couldn't get a job, a government job. You couldn't like you had Irish families like who were being denied housing
Yeah.
in place of like single people. So
Yeah.
like me a student, and then there's like fucking a family of six because they're like Catholic can't get like a house.
Yeah.
All like it's all that's like anything you can think of was done at some point. Like
Yeah.
anything you can think of, like apart from like an actual Holocaust, you know, which they tried to do with the famine. Well, oh yeah, that's another misconception.
Yeah. Actually,
The
yeah.
idea,
Cleared up.
oh yeah, like so, like reading a history book,
Mhm.
like in this country as a kid, you'd think that potatoes were the only food source in this country. No joke. Like it mentions nothing at all. The reality is that since potatoes were the least valuable and like quite good for sustaining people,
Yeah.
those were the ones that we were sort of permitted to have in greater quantity. And then so when those started going, like we weren't permitted to like have a lot of like the carrots and other food sources of beef and all that.
Yeah.
And like this is a massive topic. I mean, you could spend your entire thing on it, but it's is like it was not a famine. It's more closer to a genocide. Like the active denying of resources to a population is a genocide. On
Yeah.
like under law, that is a genocide.
Yeah.
And
That's exactly what Britain did, right? They just wouldn't
yeah,
give anything at all.
oh no, they gave some
Oh
stuff,
yeah.
but
Sorry.
like like fuck all practically. I
Yeah.
mean, I think it was the King of Belgium gave more to us than the Queen did
Yeah.
at the time,
I read something
and
about
she
that.
actually
Yeah.
yeah, and she stopped the shipments because it was showing her up.
Wow.
Yeah, and like also like disappointed in the Catholic Church because at the time they had real power and real money, and they did fuck all too practically.
Yeah. I read something. I actually didn't read it. I heard that there was a tribe in America, like Indian
Yeah,
tribe, that actually gave them like a bunch of horses or something like that.
nice.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, yeah, wow, tells you something. Yeah, because
Yeah.
they knew how hard it is to go without food and being suppressed and stuff like that.
That was really nice of them, because then they didn't have a lot themselves.
next question is like, okay, this is actually going to be actually pretty big in the presentation what we're giving because we're going to be studying about, well, not studying, we're going to be checking.
Oh, about the fun Irish stories. Sorry, like I actually kind of derailed that one. So yeah, he got arrested, and then his entire family, all the males went down, and like beat the shit out of all the policemen in the thing, and like they like got him out, and then like they told like the sort of guy in charge, like sort of like the chief of police at the time, and he said, "No, we're not going to pursue this matter,"
Oh,
because like he was actually really smart, because his job wasn't, his job was to keep the Catholics quiet.
yeah,
I said, right, if we go in like racking heads here, we're gonna have like a rat on us.
yeah,
But if look, so what? You got beat up. It's your own fault for handling it badly, sort of thing.
yeah,
And this was his job. And then something very similar actually happened. You know, actually, the next generation, like one of my uncles, he moved into like a loyalistish area, but he had to for his work.
yeah,
He went into a pub with some mates, and then like, he got like the shit kicked out of him because like they realized he was Catholic.
yeah,
And then like the next day, entire meal thing of my family, which is like pretty large. This is like 20 people all meal.
yeah,
And they go in and they just whoever's there, no matter who they are, they like beat the shit out of them. And then like they break everything. They break the bar, the windows. They rip the doors off. Like the whole place is trashed. Like nothing there apart from lighting it on fire. You've done everything you can possibly do there.
you Irish people are
And
fucked up, dude. No,
well, I mean, like it's like it's. I mean, there's no police. You can't go to police. I mean, if you go to the police, you'd probably get it again.
yeah,
There was no like. There was like even today, there's great distrust in some areas about the police.
oh, it's terrible. Okay, next question. Sorry. Like, okay, why do you celebrate Saint Patrick's Day? Why do you celebrate the Saint
Wow.
Patrick's Day?
Why do I personally? Well, it's a free holiday and all that sort of stuff. Which, but if you want the actual answer, so Saint Patrick, as you know, was one of the first, not the first. That's a misconception. But he was one of the first to come over and introduce, Catholicism here, which caught on, and people like that idea.
Yeah,
And so, he did some stuff. I mean, when he died, we celebrate his life, and in true Irish fashion, we celebrate with a parade and a bit of drink.
yeah,
It's a nice day out for the kids. I mean, St. Patrick's Day existed long before I did, so like it's a historical thing.
yeah,
But
Yeah, so your view on it is like you don't you just embrace it as a light thing, not don't take it to the extreme and like
no, no, like I,
think
I do
about
not
him.
know of anyone who like really feels connected to it. It's really just like a fun day. Like St. Patrick, like the figure is always like present. Or like, there's like a statue of him. There's people, sort of dressing up on stilts dressed as St. Patrick with like a massive sort of shepherd stick and stuff and all that. But it's not seen as an overly religious.
yeah. Okay,
Um,
I want to know actually. There's like the myth that Saint Patrick drove out the snakes. What do you think
yeah,
about that?
but like historically, like factually, that's false. I mean, there aren't many snakes in Ireland. Certainly not many poisonous ones.
Yeah. So would you
The
say
meta,
that? Sorry. Would you say that snakes are a metaphor for something else? Wink, wink.
yeah, yeah. The snakes are a metaphor for basically the idea of sin. Going back to that biblical Adam and Eve. Where the snake tempts Eve into like committing like a sin that took humanity out of paradise. Um, it's I if it is a metaphor for like a particular group of people. Well,
Jew.
well, like. We never had a massive Jewish population, and if the snakes were going to be a metaphor for anyone, it probably would have been the English, but that was never taught to me by like anyone.
Could it be like it could be a metaphor for like paganism, right? Because
Ah, no, that's probably a better one. I mean, our teachers didn't really try to go into the symbolism of the snakes. Apart from saying the snakes represented, sin, probably because that's like an easy politically correct version to go with.
yeah, would be smart.
Um, but no, like, um, I mean, I've never heard of it like referenced to any particular. I don't think there's any real discrimination.
Um, okay, Kaori made this one. Have you ever seen a leprechaun?
I had to know, dude. I had to know.
Yeah. Well, I mean, only on TV. Like there actually is apparently some scientific basis for a leprechaun, and like before, like you think this is some Alex Jones level shit. No, this is so basically like Ireland has been populated by many people who've come from all over the world and stuff. Like and we had Vikings and stuff coming over.
Yeah, yeah.
There was a
They're from
theory that
Dublin, right?
yeah, like I don't know the exact history, but there was a theory that there was a small indigenous population of the way like so pygmy type people,
Yeah,
like little people essentially,
yeah,
who had a fairly established culture and you know were good at making the like objects and stuff, like crafts, and their abilities would have been seen as like far beyond like the other people coming up. So the idea is that because like the little people like sort of live in the mountains sort of thing. So the idea is that the sort of like small uh, population sort of had craftsmanship ability that was a good few years ahead of the other people. I did hear that somewhere. You know, you know. Hold on, like because you know there's like theories and all, but if that's not true, which have heard no basis of it, of an actual real
yeah.
indigenous
It's like
population.
elves in Iceland, except in Iceland, elves actually exist. Am I right? All right.
Oh yeah,
All right. Okay. On a final
yeah.
note, okay. Are there any like controversial topics that are going on in Ireland right now that you'd like to talk about? Just to give us
Well, I
give
mean,
us some information about it.
depends who you talk to. I mean, I there's so much stuff going on. The whole fact that the loyalists still exists.
Yeah.
You can go into every little thing they do, and people will be annoyed about it.
Yeah.
Some people are annoyed actually at the current, I think, current president of the republic.
Really? Why?
Well, let's see, what's his name is President of Ireland. I can't pronounce it. That's the thing. His name. This person. What is he? This guy is Leo Eric Varadkar, and people are a bit annoyed. Some of them, I mean, I don't see a problem with it. Um, that he is well, he's not very Irish, as you may have guessed from the name Varadkar. He's actually of Indian origin. I mean, he was born here, but is like his dad or something's Indian. He's also openly gay, which I mean, the South is like incredibly like it's more Catholic than it is up here.
Yeah.
Mm. There's also the abortion issue that they're trying to repeal in the South, and you know, like a lot of people are like Catholic in the South, or at least claiming to be, and this whole abortion issue would go against that entirely. And I think pretty soon the Catholic Church is going to come out and say, look, you know, you can't go to church and support this. It's sheer hypocrisy. But that's not my view. And that's just you know it's a struggle to be modern with an old faith
Yeah.
sort of thing. Yeah, but in fact, lots of stuff in the Irish language itself is like it's very religious. Like you say Dia Ditch, which is God be with you, and Dia Smurgis, which is God and Mary be with you.
Yeah.
Like everywhere you see is like little bits of religion, Catholic religion, specifically like layered throughout the thing. And but like, anyway, like that's a ramble. Sorry. I mean, for me, there's no controversy in Ireland at the moment,
Yeah. All right.
apart from like our bus services being shit.
Ooh.
Well, they are. They're terrible. I mean, never
Now we're
mind.
gonna
But
going into that the
yeah,
bus system.
and a message from our sponsor.
All right. Well, thank you for the interview, dude. It's been an honor.
Uh,
I guess.
I, I hope it was useful. I mean, it didn't sound very useful from this point of view, but
Yeah, it is. It is.
Yeah. We'll see how the students in the class right now are looking at it.
yeah,
Thank you
I
very
mean,
much.